Concentration and Expansion Lesson 2. Presented by Master Raphael Tassoni. Narrated by Miss Franca Pasquale in English. Please visit EliteTaiji.com for more videos.
Good evening, good morning, depending on what time zone you are currently in. Welcome. In my previous video, we practiced Zen Zhuan, which is a very still pose, and learned how to practice in stillness. In this second video, we are going to practice one exercise, which I'm going to define as root, trunk, branches. So what exactly is this basic rule? Roots, trunk, branches. It's a modality rather than a rule because the rule is concentration and expansion, but in the modality of roots, trunk, branches. So what exactly does this mean? Roots, trunk, branches means that the...
If you like our programs, please press the like, subscribe, and share buttons. Thank you.
Roots, trunk, branches means that the parts of our body that are predispositioned to move first are the parts where the movement initiates. For example, in the lower part of our body, the hips are the roots. The knees are the trunk and our feet the branches. In our upper body, the shoulder is the root and our elbow the trunk and our hands the branches. So it's with this sequence of movements that we are able to feel and allow the flow of energy. Normally, we move our branches first, but instead, we must learn to move the trunk first. The hips are the roots for the legs, the shoulders for the arms, and the sacrum are the body's roots. The trunk is the spinal cord, and the legs and the arms are the branches. Because there are 3 levels in this lesson that we need to understand. Level 1 is the physical aspect, which are the bones and the muscles, and we cannot overlook this in our practice because we are working with our body. Working with this method, what happens is my exercise improves with lots of practice, and it brings me to a level which is much more energetic rather than a physical practice. But this takes some time and lots of practice. For instance, if you practice 1 day a week, it may take 10 years to learn this. But if you practice every day, then maybe in a year you can learn this exercise. But learning never ends. It's no different than living life. Nothing is born and nothing dies. It just transforms itself. We initiate with a specific idea in mind, but then we evolve into a metamorphosis, just like evolution, and it becomes our path of life. This exercise is performed in this way. The first part is to bend our hips, only the hip. Then I bend my knee and only my knee. Then I bend my ankle as I lower myself. And then my hip goes forward and the knee forward and the ankle. This is the physical exercise. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Be careful not to bend 1 and 2 together by bending your hips and knees together. So it's very important to perform this exercise slowly, mindfully, hip, knee, ankle, hip, knee, ankle, on the way down and on the way back up. What is our body actually doing? Our joints are creating circles. Can you see the circles created with this type of movement? In the initial learning stages, it's easily not performed correctly because we don't have body awareness. So we easily move our hips, knees, and ankles together. So we must be aware: hip, knee, ankle. This first part is very important because it allows us to relate with the ground, as we explained in the previous video. It's important that this exercise has this type of movement in order to relate properly. And this is the first level, only with the legs. Now I'm going to ask my friend Antonio to help me demonstrate, and I'll explain in detail. He's been practicing for 7 years and already has quite a bit of experience with this movement and how to manage this exercise. Therefore, he already has an extensive knowledge in performing this movement. Now we're going to demonstrate the first part of this exercise. Turn this way, Antonio. The hip, the knee, and the ankle. Hip, knee, ankle. This exercise is not easy to perform. Much practice and time are needed to be able to master this movement. I don't do easy exercises. They are difficult to master, and simply because I like a challenge. So let's continue with hip, knee, ankle. Hip, knee, ankle. We must repeat this many, many times. This is the first level, and I'm simply going to explain all sequences of these exercises to the last level. So now Antonio is going to face you, and I am going to turn sideways so that you are able to view me. This is a progressive process to follow, which you will see in the second stage as we progress to move into the different levels. 3 simple levels. So we once again do hip, knee, ankle. Hip, knee, ankle. Then we add the arms in. Simply hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. Hip, knee, ankle. This is the second level, very simply. Hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. 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 Here we start to insert the 3 basic rules to help us improve this exercise. In the very first one, we simply fold forward, allowing our arms to release forward. Our body goes back and our arms go forward. That's 2 directions. Forward and back are 2 directions. Up and our hands down are 2 directions. This is to demonstrate the oppositional directions. Therefore, back and forward, down and up, forward, back, up and down. Now we're going to change the rule, which is the second rule: roots, trunk, branches. Hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. Hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. One more time. Hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist. We perform this exercise very slowly and meticulously. The third basic rule is as follows. I open my back, and I use this term to make reference to the front of my chest contracting as my back opens. So it's contraction and then expansion. And my belly and chest open in the expansion. Contraction and expansion. In the contraction, it's Min Man that initiates the movement. And in the expansion, it's Tambien. Contraction and expansion allows us to relate to two very important meridians, Dumai and Reimai. Therefore, when one closes, the other opens, and it allows for the yang energy to circulate. When he opens in the front and closes in the back, it allows for yang energy to flow in order to summon the yin and yang energy. This requires some time to learn. It's very difficult because we need to learn how to move our joints, which are linked to our external harmonies, which are hip, shoulder, knee, elbow, ankle, wrist movements. Now we are going to complete this exercise, always in a physical aspect, of course, without thinking of the energy part of it. I wanted to explain this. What is the reason why we move in such a way? Because in Tai Chi, it's very important to understand the reasons why we perform in such a way. So I'm going to show you the reason why we need to perform it in this way. In life, we always come into contact with obstacles. Right now, he represents air in a very dense form that I cannot move. I don't want to use force to move him. If I were to use force, I could probably move him. But rather, if I go back and forward, I find the obstacle and I'm able to turn it around and enter in his void. And he's weightless. And I don't need to use force in this way. This is to enter his void. Where is his void? It's wherever his body isn't. Because in here is his body, but here there is a space and a void. And I turn around and I squash down the air and he loses his connection. It's very easy and simple to perform for those who practice in the same way, are able to do this. I could resist, but I'm not interested in resisting because I don't want to fight and not to fight. We are our own worst enemies. Therefore, we fight with ourselves. So there's no need to fight with a friend to come and practice this technique. Even when we ask our Franca to come and listen to our lessons so that she's able to translate it in English. So, why all of this? Because Tai Chi has this forward and back movement. So why, Sushu, why do I have to practice in this way? Because I have to imagine that I'm going to come into contact with an obstacle, that I'm not always going to be able to move in a way that I choose. My objective is to understand where full matter is and empty matter. Because with our rigidity, we are continually colliding with the voids, and this isn't healthy for us or the void. So what we try to achieve by practicing in this fashion is to create a good blend of the fullness and the emptiness, because they both come from the same roots. And it's very important to understand this in one's life so that one can evolve. So how are we going to perform the complete version? Firstly, we go back and forward, down and up, this little one, then a larger one, back and forward, down and up, forward and back. And I also have to do left and right, and then back and forward, down and up, forward and back, down and up. Okay? We performed the directions. Now we're going to practice roots, trunk, branches. In this basic rule, we are going to perform the same exercise on a different level. The sacrum goes back, the spinal cord stretches, and the arms and the legs flutter together to find harmony. And then once again, the sacrum goes back, the spinal cord stretches, and the arms and the legs move in oppositional directions. And once again, the sacrum goes back, the spinal cord stretches, and the arms and the legs move together. Okay. What do I do next? I change the basic rule. Contraction and extension, because every exercise that I do, and we do many fundamental exercises, which represents the forms that we study, which are many small exercises put together to learn in order to be able to connect them all together. So what do we do? Contraction, expansion, contraction, I open my back a little larger this time. Expansion, I open my belly and my chest. Contraction and expansion. And we've done the 3 basic rules with this exercise. This is the first level of the 3 levels. So why do we do this? It's always for this reason. I'm in contact with Antonio, who is always in my way. But he has understood what my practice is, and therefore he will follow me. Watch what happens as he follows me. He has the ability to throw me off my center. So what do I do when I come into contact with Antonio and I can feel that he is following me? I go to the opposite side. Watch. If I can't enter from here, I have 2 possibilities. So when I do this, firstly, I listen to him, because this involves listening skills. If I can go there, then I make my move. If instead he follows me and lowers himself with me, I feel it and I go on the opposite direction. This is on the exterior. When I am here, he could... You do this now. What happens? I go downwards and he moves upwards. Here he is. I go back, but I can pull him. This is why he needs to perform the exercise using the basic rules. Here he is. He's here, and he's stable. And I go back, and here he is. And once again, his extension is finished without him pulling me. I do this. 1, he's not here because he's moving. So I avoid him like this, and he pulls me. I have to let myself go, not to be rigid. The extension of my muscles lets him come back to me because my muscles contract and they release and expand. I don't need to do a thing. Now we're going to do another one. So I do this, and he does this, and I do this, and he does this. And then he comes back, and what do? When he comes back, he's on me. So I remove myself by going left to right. Watch. I've already blocked him. I don't push him. I only move him out of the way, and he goes away. Now we're going to show you in an easy way, because there is nothing that is really easy in this work, that this work can be performed in 2, which is really nice. So I do it once and then we switch. So right now he is helping me by being a puppet. And I train myself in this way. This way no, this way yes. Then I don't allow him to get close. I let him do this way up, and I pull him up and down. Then I bring him down, and I can do this and this. All he does is listen and feels my movements. And I can train without using any muscles, only with energy, connected with my head and my feet. Now he's going to try. And now I'm the puppet that will help him. I feel him. I listen without being rigid. And slowly I feel this very special energy, and without doing anything. So this is the basic level. On a physical level, as if to say, on a skeletal level, so that our joints can move freely. In the next video, I'll explain how to soften this movement, because it's not just a joint movement, because it's a flow of our hip as we're lowering ourselves. Why this? Because we are always straight on our feet. Our legs carry the weight of our body. So why do we do this? In order to release the weight of our body from our legs, in order to do the work with our legs in a softer way. I have to perform this exercise in this way in order to empty our legs. Our legs have to feel empty and not full. We cannot have our muscles rigid in order to hold up our body. I have to train them to be on our feet with our skeletal system, not our muscles. I can't have muscles that must hold me on my legs. The skeletal system holds itself up, and the fibrous muscles that help us stay on our feet. So I release the weight, and I have this incredible experience of relaxed muscles. But this is the second level. So for now, we must practice. I thank you for joining me. I thank Antonio for being here, as well as Franca for listening in.
For more videos, please visit EliteTaiji.com for the ETC studios and classes.